pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lucy, will you do the roll call, please?
Deanna Wires. Here. Sarah James. Here. Frankie Schwartz. Here. Ginger Shank.
Here.
Roger Tucker.
Here.
Jeff Schneider.
Here.
Rich Barton.
Here.
We've got a quorum.
Thank you. Our next business item is to amend or adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Is there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is adopted. Next, I want to call your attention to board norms. We've looked at these frequently, so just kind of refresh yourself on the expectations of our work as a board together. And next, we have recognitions.
Right, and tonight we wanted to, I'll stay back here, because tonight we want to recognize our parent organizations. They do so much for us and our students, and want to say thank you for all the time that they volunteer to give back to the children. So we have representatives from, we thank all of our organizations. So if you wouldn't mind coming up and staying up here, and we'll get a picture afterwards, but we just want to say thanks for everything that you do to support it. That's right, that's right.
Okay.
Stand in the back.
You can stand in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be headshots.
Just headshots.
Right. Okay, so from the Big Red Boosters, we have Maesie Payne. Yay, Maesie. Yay. Then from our FFA Alumni President, we have Denise Dent.
She's on her way.
On her way. Okay, maybe we'll
She'll be here in just a minute.
walk slowly.
Yes.
Right. So our music booster is Chris McCall. Then Rebecca Boone, PTO, is Julie King. Thank you.
Walking in.
All right. And
Behind you.
for our FFA alumni,
Get in front.
Denise Dent. Perfect timing. Couldn't get better. All right. Warrior Ridge PTO, they have co-presidents, Rebecca Fletcher and Casey Burton. I'm not sure which one. And then Daniel Boone, PTO, we have Tiffany Rivera. So, thank you all so much.
No, he didn't.
Not really.
Wait, I thought someone was going to stand in front of me.
I'll just lie back here.
Well, thank you all so much. All right, 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're also welcome to.
Thank you.
I know too bad.
Bye.
That's always fun. Next is our public comment section. And I have Myra here to talk with the board. I want to remind you that we'll just be listening ears for you, but at any time you can talk with Dr. Klingsmith after the meeting or in other conversations. But as a board, we have our set agenda already.
Okay, I'm not a public speaker, so I've made myself little notes here. My name is Myra Buffka. I am an alumni of the district. I have 2 kids currently attending, 3 kids already graduated. I own a printing company. We do some apparel for the district. We do a lot of stuff for the boosters and some other organizations also that work with the district. Yesterday, I was part of the committee that met yesterday about the branding and logo issues. And I feel like a good portion of us who were at the meeting left it feeling frustrated. I think maybe part of that frustration was not really understanding the driving force about why we were having this conversation, what the purpose of the committee was for, what did we need to change. It kind of felt a little bit like the decision was already made. We were just having the meeting to sort of, as a formality, to say, look, we've put this money into the field, we've put this money into the new gym floor, this is the W we need to start working with, which is fine. I'm not upset with that W. But we didn't really pick a logo. We agreed on the crest, which is a great seal. It works great for email signatures, official documentations coming from the school, for diplomas and class rings and those things. You can't put that on a hat. You can't put that on a left chest print. It just doesn't work. You'll lose that detail, and that detail is what makes it really great hanging on the wall. Not so much when it's only 4 inches tall. The school colors are the same. The mascot is staying the same. We decided to go with that W that's in the center of the crest because it's very similar to what's on the new turf field and what's on the new gym floor, which is great. But that's not a logo. That's a seal. And that W isn't a logo. That's a font. It's college bold, if you really want to get technical. And when you're in an area that has several other districts who are also W's, like Warriors and Wes and Winfield and Wentzville, I don't really feel that a W really captures who we are. There are a lot of people who really like that curved W that has the spear through it. In the vein of trying to get some consistency between the seal and what's being put on apparel and things like that, I suggested let's take that W and put the spear with it, or we could use the tomahawks with the feathers, something to kind of make it printing friendly. And it was decided we're not making new logos. But we didn't make a new logo. We didn't choose any logo. We chose a seal and we chose a font. But we were also told that any new designs that any teachers or staff members wanted to do would need to be submitted to a small committee to approve. Then once that was approved, anyone in the district could use it. So isn't that the same thing as creating a new logo? And does it really matter as long as we're consistently using the same W? If the goal is consistency, do we really need an approval process for every single design going forward? If it's just the W. Would it be more prudent to have a committee to review any designs that are using our mascot and using Native American imagery to make sure that isn't being construed in a way that might be disrespectful or inappropriate? My other takeaway from the meeting yesterday is I believe the administration is making a misstep with the recommendation of pushing for only one vendor to do all the printing for the district. Would I love for that vendor to be me? Absolutely. Is that realistic? Absolutely not. It's not possible for one vendor to do everything. And if you limit purchasing to one solitary vendor and you do a bid process to pick that one vendor, and I could stand here and do a whole separate dissertation on what that bid process would look like and how detailed and involved that would have to be to capture all the aspects of printing. And I won't take up any more of your time going into all of that. There's a good chance the vendor that it would be end up being picked is going to be some large conglomerate that isn't local and that's going to have long lead times. This is going to lead to overbuying situations because coaches and teachers are going to have to start guessing at sizes, to order things in advance, to make sure that they have their apparel and their items in on time. The homecoming shirts are a great example. Homecoming's early this year. Those shirts would have needed to have been ordered before students were even in the building for the start of the school year. in order to ensure that they're gonna be here next week for the event. That's a lot to ask. That's a lot of money to spend on guessing how many sizes you need and how many you're gonna sell. Additionally, if PTOs and booster organizations and any other organizations outside of the district are still able to work with whatever vendors they want to and print whatever they would like, as they should be allowed to do because it's their funds to spend, the board really wouldn't be controlling the imagery that's being produced anyway by limiting the district staff to only print with one vendor, because you're still going to have all these other groups out there that are printing whatever they're doing, and you can't control the mom down the street that has a Cricut that decides she wants to make shirts. And that's not judgment, that's just truth. Branding and logos and printing are our life. This board is made of fantastic people and really great educators. We're not printers. And I would never try to come into a class and teach a class because I wouldn't know what I was doing. And my husband and I, who is not here yet because he's perpetually late for everything, have over 20 years of experience in this specific area, in printing, in branding, in logos, in designing. We've worked with NCAA colleges. We've worked with Major League Baseball. We've worked with the NFL. We have banners hanging up in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And yesterday was a little disappointing because it felt like no one was listening to us, and we are a wealth of information at your disposal. Yep. Utilize the tools and knowledge that you have in your district. That I personally know 3 of you sitting on this board. Yes, I print items for the district. It's my hope that this is not coming across as someone who only cares about it because I'm afraid of losing business. That's not it. I'm not just a print. I'm an alumni. I'm a parent of past and present students. I believe the board is potentially opening a can of worms that you're not prepared to open because you're not fully educated on the impact of these decisions and the processes that involves. And as parents, we should want the board to be fully educated on anything you're making decisions about. So when district staff members are conveying to me that they feel they're being backed in a corner, someone needs to advocate for them. And I'm that person. I'm a parent first. I'm a printer second. I support my teachers. They have a hard job. Teaching is infinitely more difficult already. We don't need to make policies and procedures for something as simple as getting t-shirts made if we don't need to. Because if it's difficult, they just won't do it. And it's sad to say that, but I don't blame them. If I have to go through an extra 5-step policy to get t-shirts made for my DECA club or my FBLA, I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, sorry kids, let's just have a pizza party instead. I don't know. My question with the board, and I mean no disrespect to Dr. K and the committee meeting we had yesterday, let us help you make the best decision and educate you in these choices moving forward. Let's pick a good logo that works on t-shirts that the kids would be excited to wear, but that unifies the district as a whole. That works great for being the official seal of approval on every diploma, on everybody's email signature. You can change the Warrenton to say Blackhawk or Warrior Ridge or whatever. It works great. Not on a t-shirt. Not on a hat. Let's have more conversation and discussion, and let me help you make the right choice that is going to be easier for our staff and our coaches and our kids. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sitting here, I'm lucky, Dave. We have a plan.
Okay, next we have superintendent reports, and we have the transportation program evaluation.
That's right, our Director of Transportation, Mr. Tennant, is here. So, yeah.
Well, good evening. Gosh, it's been a year.
How is that
Seems like time
possible?
flies. Seems like 10 years. All right, well, my name is David Tennant. I'm the Director of Transportation, and last year was the most challenging year that I have had since I've been here. But I'm only going to skim over and cover some of the highlights, some of the goals that we presented last year. But our purpose is to continually provide excellent transportation to and from school, all athletic events, in district, outside of district, in district buildings, outside of district buildings. Safe, reliable transportation always will remain our goal. At least our purpose, apologies. But our first goal was to maintain a safe, accident-free environment. Last year we had the same amount of accidents we had the previous year, which was 4, so we continued that last year. I can provide any of the information if you're interested in getting more information on what exactly happened during those accidents. A lot of them were either minor fender benders, deer strike, that is in the report. Secondly, I'm going to refer to is maintain a decline in bus discipline. Year over year, we'd like to see discipline go down on our buses. Unfortunately, last year I'm going to refer to as the COVID effect. We had the re-implementation of masks, which basically meant reinforcement of masks, and there was a massive pushback from students who didn't want to wear masks at the beginning of the year, causing a large increase in disciplinary reports, write-ups, notes, all types of discipline happened related to that. The second part of it would be the lack of staffing. Mainly that comes down to when you have a staff that's consistently showing up, you don't have a lot of the issues with having new people. It's basically like having a substitute teacher. When you have a substitute teacher filling in, you have behavior issues. Same with me. I was on the bus probably more than I was in the office last year. Same as this year, has not changed. Staffing continues to be an issue. But discipline did not go down last year. It actually spiked, increased a great deal. And those are the two major factors for that. Third is maintain full staff, and that continues to be a real challenge for us. We've reached out, done some campaigning. We have gone to job fairs. We have attempted, we do online Indeed. We've attempted all types of things, even including reaching out to our district employees to ask if any of them would be willing or able to drive. But we have not had that interest. We've had some people say, kind of poke around the idea of like, oh, I might like to, but we're still in great need of drivers, and that will continue. Good news, and it just happened today, we had 2 drivers pass their tests, so that's a hooray for the transportation. We need drivers, and we had 2 actually pass their tests, which will be a great help, but we need more. And so if you know anyone, please, trip drivers, need them. Fourth, achieve 100% on Missouri State bus inspection. That was an issue last year, the previous year, but last year during our state inspection in April, we achieved a 98.1% of the 52 buses that we presented. So we did a much, it was great for our staff, it was great for the mechanics who've worked tirelessly, they worked extremely hard, and we just had a good a good showing. We put a lot of effort into making sure that this year was going to be, you know, a successful one. So I can't say enough about the mechanics and the staff who helped us achieve that. Goal 5 was to search for funding for fuel tanks and fuel pumps. That is a continuing, ongoing effort. We need to update our fuel tanks and the pumps, which are located on our transportation line. They're in need of replacement, but we haven't been able to locate funding. Goal 6 was to develop new driver training. Last year, we didn't have a single new driver during the entire year, so that fell by the wayside. I think I'll probably just, I'll end it with summer school. Summer school was a huge success. You know, I've got drivers who've, you know, been with the district a long time, and they're the backbone of our department. And I can't say enough about our transportation team and the drivers who've stepped up when we need them, always willing to help out. So I'm very fortunate to have a great staff to work with, and pleased that, you know, we were able to get these kids to school with little to very few disruption on a daily basis. And that comes from all of my staff members and my 2 mechanics, the 2 ladies in my office, and myself, all having to pitch in to drive almost on a daily basis. I'll leave it at that and entertain any questions.
I just want to point out that last year's inspection was 81.5%, and you guys are all the way up to 98.1.
Yes.
And that's incredible. And then if you look back, this is the highest it's been since 2018. And so I'm very grateful for all the work, because I know last year we talked about that. And so thank you for doing all of that. And then the other question I had was, what happens if a trip driver is not available? Like how is that being met?
So currently, all of our trip drivers, well, except for one, all of our trip drivers are regular route drivers. So what happens is we have a meeting to go over all the athletic trips, any field trips, and ask them, you know, we go through seniority as far as who does what trip. And then it's left to my staff to fill in those gaps when those drivers go take a trip. So that's how we cover it.
So it's never that there's just no one, everyone has to drive themselves?
Everyone, yes.
Okay.
So we haven't had that situation where teams have had to drive. We've actually had to rely on some coaches like golf. Golf has had to drive themselves. You know, and it's not without its hiccups, because it's very challenging where we've had to have a mechanic drive a team down and then have a route driver go pick them up afterwards. So we've run into those situations quite a bit last year. It was extremely challenging last year with the lack of staff.
I also wanted to commend you on the safety inspection. That was one of the first things I looked at from last year, because you know, what was the plan, and you guys implemented that plan to get there. Fell short, but you're close, and you know, I'm very confident that next year you'll hit that 100%.
We're open to that.
One question on your fuel tanks. Who provides the fuel for us?
Warren County.
Yeah, Warrenton Oil.
Yeah.
So a lot of fuel suppliers will, like, how many 1,000-gallon tanks do you have?
We have a 5,000-gallon diesel tank and a 3,000 unleaded tank.
Gotcha. I know a lot of fuel service providers will provide those tanks. A lot of cases, not Warrenton Oil.
Well, we've talked about replacing them when they've come out to do inspections on them. The tanks that we've looked at are actually not in terrible disrepair, or they're not necessarily in terrible shape where they're leaking. But the bigger part is we have probably a 1970s pump that is the old turnstile mechanical digits.
How many year contract do we have for the bidding of the fuel? Is it a 1 year?
No, I think we just, when you get fuel, you just call it.
We just
So there's not So would there be a bidding process for where our fuel supplier would price?
Yeah, I know we've reached out to different people in the past. You know, a lot of them it's transportation costs, and Warrenton Oil's been a good partner with us, but we can definitely.
Well, I just would think that, you know, that's a good way to cover that.
Sure, we definitely
that situation, because I know a lot of fuel providers will provide that on-site tank.
Yeah, great. That's good information. Yeah.
something to look at.
Yeah, so, on the list, Dave.
Well, I'd like to make a comment. I like the way that you reflected all the praise to your team members and how much loyalty that you see in your department, stuff like that. But I just want you to know that that's a direct reflection upon your leadership, and I appreciate that. I've ridden the bus a lot of times, and I've spent many thousands and thousands and thousands of miles and nights on the bus, and a lot of those guys go unheralded, the job that they do for our district, our student athletes, and students as a whole. So thank you for your leadership. Appreciate that.
We know you don't have an easy job, but we appreciate how hard you work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You see me out there driving bus?
Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the curriculum evaluation.
Yes, we have our curriculum coordinators, Dr. Strong and Ms. Tia Etcher, here with us to go over curriculum.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, again, good evening. My name is Cresia Stark. I'm your district math and science curriculum coordinator. And this is Ms. Tia Etcher, the district ELA and social studies curriculum coordinator. We just want to thank you for allowing us to be here this evening to highlight the Warren County R3 curriculum program and all the amazing work that our members of our curriculum teams have accomplished since the fall of 2018. So who are we? So for those that are new to the board, Tia and I wear many hats in our district. So again, I am the math and science curriculum coordinator. I also coordinate fine arts and the curriculum for PE and health. I'm also the lead admin for the Canvas Learning Management System for our virtual learning. I'm also the lead chair for the District Professional Development Committee and a former elementary teacher at Warrior Ridge Elementary.
I am the ELA and Social Studies Curriculum Coordinator, and I coordinate world languages, practical arts, media specialist, and counseling curriculum. I'm also the district testing coordinator, and I'm a former elementary teacher at Rebecca Bain Elementary. We want to start off this evening by reviewing our current board adopted curriculum writing plans and processes. This year, the elementary content areas that meet quarterly are ELA, Math, Social Studies, PE, and Health, and the secondary are ELA, Math, Social Studies, PE, and Health. We meet with no more than 4 representatives each time. We prefer to utilize curriculum and assessment writers from previous years to build consistency and acknowledge the hard work these curriculum writers have done for their grade levels and content areas, but new representatives are always very welcome. The curriculum teams will be responsible for evaluating, writing, reviewing, revising, renewing, and facilitating the implementation of the curriculum, instructional methods, activities, and assessments. It is important to note that as we are developing new curriculum, all units, assessments, and resources are directly aligned with the Missouri Learning Standards. All high school AP courses are aligned to College Board AP standards and Missouri Learning Standards. Everything that we create and evaluate during the curriculum writing process always encompasses our district CSIP goals. Focus Area 1, student performance, and Focus Area 2, highly qualified staff, are at the core of our curriculum writing program and process.
So every time that we meet as a curriculum group, we center our work around these 4 corollary questions. What do we want our students to learn? What should the learning plan look like? How will we know when students have mastered these concepts? And how can we make our curriculum as streamlined and user-friendly for our teachers as possible? Here is an example of our yearly curriculum writing calendar, just to show you how many groups that we are meeting with this school year, as well as our 6-year curriculum writing and purchasing cycle. One of our goals is to always make our district curriculum easily accessible to and user-friendly, especially for our new teachers and district that are new to the district and new teachers to a grade level or course. Because of this, we have created the Warren County R3 Curriculum Share Drive. Our Share Drive is a Google Drive that is shared through the district and is the source for our grade level common assessments, instructional resources, and our district curriculum. Once teachers access this drive, they will find their content area and grade level. Then they will locate their teaching unit. Every unit consists of a unit framework. Each framework consists of a unit overview, the Missouri learning standards that are addressed in that unit, the duration of the unit, essential questions, as well as the most up-to-date assessment and resources to support the unit. We also wanted to share some highlights from the 21-22 school year. Our curriculum teams created 179 learning units for math and ELA last year, for a total learning units that have been developed since 2018 at 1,507 units. We are currently developing and building common assessments in Canvas for 2nd through 12th grade students. We have updated resources and manipulatives through our math curriculum purchasing year. We purchased an updated Singapore math resource that better aligns to our Missouri learning standards and district curriculum. We purchased Zern Math for our middle school math students in intervention program. And we also developed school readiness indicator assessments in alignment with DESE requirements. A huge responsibility of our team is to make sure that all new teachers to the district are trained and prepared for the very first day of school. This year we offered a variety of professional development opportunities to help prepare our new and returning teachers. And I will speak more to this during our professional development presentation as well, but this is just a list that we have created just from our back to school trainings. Okay, so that is our curriculum presentation for the evening. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Carrie, I know I can get online and go to the district website and see the curriculum, but anyone can do that, right?
That
it's
is
not just
correct.
Because I'm a board member.
That's correct.
It's
any
public.
Any member of the
Anybody
public can go to, yes.
Can see what the goals are for each
Yeah.
grade level and so forth.
Yep, we pride ourselves in being as transparent as possible with our district curriculum.
I think that's great. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that it wasn't just because I'm a board member I can see
Right.
this, but it's open to
Absolutely.
the public.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank
All
you.
content areas K-12.
I appreciate all the work you guys do to make that
It's our pleasure.
available.
It's
That's
our
very
pleasure.
good.
I have a question.
Sure.
I think I know the answer to this.
Sure.
But is there a financial benefit to a teacher being part of the curriculum team? Or is this something that's being done out of an invested interest of
Right.
what's being taught in their grade?
Yes.
I just see like intrinsic motivations and just
Right, it really is just interest-based and just being an expert of their content and wanting to have a hand in that development. There's no financial benefit for a teacher to be a part of the curriculum team.
I know it's more work. So.
It is. Yep, they have to do sub-plans for the day. They have to be available for the whole day to write curriculum with us 4 times a year, once a quarter. So it is definitely a commitment, and we really appreciate our teachers because they do a wonderful job. Yeah. So, you're welcome. Any other questions for us? Okay. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
You're welcome. And I'm just going to stay up here because I'm.
Yes,
Some
because
issues.
next is the professional development program evaluation.
That's right. That's right. All right, Lucy, whenever you're ready. Okay, well, good evening again. I am Carrie Strunk, the new chair for the District Professional Development Committee. I am here to highlight our PDC goals and upcoming professional development that we are offering teachers in the district. This slide highlights the 22-23 district PDC representatives from around the district. As you can see, we have a well-rounded group that come from all buildings and instructional areas. to give us a good perspective of the professional development needs of our staff. All the decisions that come from our district PDC revolve around our district CSIP goals that you can see here, along with our district PD committee goals that you will see on the next slide. As we stated in the curriculum presentation, a huge responsibility of our team is to make sure that all new and returning teachers to the district are trained and well prepared for the first day of school. This list includes a professional development that was offered before the start of the school year for this year, along with the upcoming PD that we have coordinated for the remainder of the school year. As you can see, we have a full calendar ahead of us. We also have created a district PDC website that is a one-stop shop for teachers to visit that includes important PDC forms, the professional development calendar, and important PD resources. Another important tool that we use to gauge teachers' professional development needs and interests is a Pdc survey that we send out every spring. This survey will allow for us to plan accordingly for the next school year and coordinate professional development opportunities for our teachers. Included in this slide and the next slide are the results from the 2022 Pdc survey. Based on the survey data gathered from teachers across the districts, effective classroom management strategies, learning loss or interventions, and technology, professional development are among the highest suggested topics to consider when planning for the 2022-23 professional development calendar. All of these topics suggested by teachers were considered when planning for this calendar year. And that is my presentation. Any questions?
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
If you could go back to that first, or that slide on the CSIP goals
Sure.
real quick. Maybe?
Okay, let me see here.
Perfect. So that focus area is citizenship
Mm-hmm.
and providing trauma-informed professional development to staff. What does that look like?
Well, it looks different in many areas. So this year we're really focusing on social emotional learning. So how stress affects the brain and how we can, as educators, help ourselves through self-care, manage our stress through the pandemic and all the stress that we've seen the past 3 years, how we can manage that to become better teachers in the classroom. And that also coincides with how can we help students deal with stress as well, because we all know that stress affects learning 100%. So we have built in some professional development. We did something this summer, and then we're also going to continue that throughout this school year to support that.
Because if you go down a couple more slides, I was just looking at all the completed professional development and the upcoming PD, and what boxes there would kind of correlate to that CSIP?
Well, we actually don't have a plan in place as of yet, but on Tuesday's meeting, we're actually putting some plans in place for this up and coming school year. We just don't have anything finalized yet. But for the summer, we did, it was the impact of chronic stress and the social emotional needed to help and learn PD. And we're going to try to continue that throughout the school year. We just don't have everything fine-tuned yet.
And a lot of the big push is to understand the student's story. And so we've got
Right.
some information now, just so as kids transition from one grade level to another, teachers are aware of just what's happened in the child's life. So if there's something that's traumatic, that maybe avoid some of those triggers as we systematically understand what's happening. And instead of relying on just, me telling the next teacher down the road, so that person can be left or gone. So we're just trying to find a way to, how do we communicate that so everyone understands what's going on with the kids.
But it was just kind of a red flag, if you will, as one of our CSIP goals, and I didn't see a whole lot affecting our neurodivergent kids
Sure.
and how our teachers are learning how to recognize those kids. So
So
I was
moving
a little concerned.
Right, so moving forward at our Tuesday's PD meeting, that's actually one of our topics that we're gonna have a plan in place to build on what we already have in place for the upcoming school year.
So my question is, I think that those CSIP goals were up until the last school year. And so this school year, we've adopted other CSIP goals. And so I didn't know if you guys are going to start switching to the new ones this
Sure,
time,
yeah,
or-
we haven't met as a group, so Tuesday's gonna be our first
Yeah.
meeting of the school year, so we still need to have a plan in place to adopt which ones we wanna focus on.
Perfect.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Still early in the year, isn't
And Carrie's just starting, Dr. Strong's just
Sure.
starting her position here.
Sure.
So look forward to see this continue to grow.
Well, I think that was one of my questions last time we had spoke too, is how we're recognizing those kids. And
Right, it's very important, it's a
Right.
priority, for
Right.
sure, for sure.
I
And
would
so,
just like to see that in our PD as well.
right, so that's why this year, instead of we usually do a math and ELA content-based professional development for our teachers in the summer. This year, we decided to go with that route instead of more content-specific PD. So we know it's important, it's a priority. Any other questions?
it? Thank you for presenting twice.
Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome, thank you, thank you.
All right,
And
yeah.
next, we have the staffing update.
Yep, Dr. Ross has worked tirelessly to get all this information for us. It's not been as easy as it looks, it's just the numbers on the page, so we appreciate Dr. Ross is doing that. But as in some of the numbers we're seeing, this also includes all the people that left in the middle of the year last year. Since we switched to the 4-day weeks, this has been by far our worst year we've had on really just people leaving the district. So there's, like I said, it includes, last year I think we set a record for the number of people leaving in the middle of the year. So that's all included in this as well. So there's some just, it's a bad year. Let me just kind of give you the information ahead of time before Brad does, but it is a bad year last year.
Okay, well, I will do my best to follow that up.
Right. Sorry, I broke up there, restaurant.
My name is Brad Ross, and thank you for the time, ladies and gentlemen of the board, guests, to go over this with you. As Dr. Klingensmith alluded to, the job in front of us is big, and that's really what I want to focus on. There's nothing what we can do about the numbers that I'm getting ready to show you, and where we find ourselves. What's important is how we sustain a highly educated and experienced staff for the sake of our children in the district. So the CSIP goal that this relates around, of course, is to retain 90% of all staff. So these are the action steps that are listed with the CSIP document. And so I won't speak to these necessarily because these are all ongoing things. We already are in the process of having interest-based negotiations every year. Same thing with having a climate survey. Central office conducting individual meetings with all new certified hires. That'll be something that I continue to do, that Dr. Jones has been doing for a couple of years. And then Dr. Klingensmith is already, he meets regularly with superintendent's advisory team. He meets with all the different buildings. And so all of that will continue. So all of this, everything I'm getting ready to share with you is in addition to what is included within the CSIP document. So, as Dr. Klingensmith alluded to, that the year was not good. You can see that, we saw a huge increase in terms of new hires for certified staff when you compare it to the previous years. 51 to be exact, and you can kind of see the breakdown there of where they fell. 46 of those were new teachers. Now, not all of these new hires were necessarily new faces. We did have two of these positions were brand new positions that were created to accommodate growing student needs at various levels. We did have a couple of certified staff that were in one position and then moved to another position, which created a vacancy for their previous position. And we did have 3 certified staff that were promoted into leadership positions as assistant principals in the district, which is something that we really want to try to grow. We think growing that sense of community will help us with the retaining process. But you can kind of see the breakdown of it there, especially in comparison to the last couple of years. And
accounting for those individuals that I just mentioned, we saw an overall turnover rate of about 18% with certified staff, which is not insignificant, of course. And so it is something that is, you know, everyone is seeing it. And I can especially speak to, you know, experiences from the high school and the certified staff that moved on from there, serving in that role last year. You know, the fact that the teacher shortage is happening and is real, and that not only creates a lower candidate pool, but that also increases opportunity, which is a tough combination. Okay, in terms of administrators, we saw more turnover there as well in the previous year. Again, 2 of those were promotions within it, 1 principal moving to this position, and then 1 assistant principal being promoted to a principal. So again, you know, that's two positions that had to be hired, but really only 1 person that changed. So again, accounting for that, you know, we're looking at, you know, a turnover rate of 21% about, you know, with our administrators, which again is not near our 90% goal, which is where we want to be. Certified staff, classified staff, you can see the numbers there as well. Our retention rate was actually up a little bit over previous years, but more importantly, and as Mr. Tennant alluded to earlier, we currently have a lot of either current vacancies that we are operating without or anticipated vacancies, and I highlight maintenance down at the bottom, our certified like HVAC personnel. We're anticipating 4 to retire within the next 14, 15 months. And so, you know, those are, you know, skilled people that have specialized training. And so those are harder positions to fill, of course. But you can see across the board and a lot of our different classified staff, we have shortages, you know, that, you know, all of those directors and coordinators would love to have with them. In particular, of note, of course, is paraprofessionals, as you can see. And that is obviously the highest classified vacancy, current ongoing need. So it's hard to point to success, you know, when I show you those numbers, but there are 2 groups that I really want to take a minute to highlight while I have this medium. Our first is our principals and directors. Because the fact of the matter is, especially on the certified staff, despite the unusual challenges that were presented, our principals and directors were able to become fully staffed with certified staff for the beginning of the year, which is not an insignificant accomplishment. Some districts were unable to do so. And so that is an incredible accomplishment, even despite the fact that, again, with the teacher shortage, what we saw was, again, a smaller candidate pool and additional opportunity in the area, which sometimes meant that some people would agree to a position with us and then agree to a position with someone else because they got paid more, and so we then had to fill that again. And so our principals and directors overcame those obstacles, and it really is hats off to them and the work they did while summer school was going on and everything else. And then all of our classified staff. So, you know, I showed you those vacancies and what that points to me right now, because school's happening. You know, the kids are coming to school and buses are rolling, okay? So, like all of our classified staff, because we have vacancies, it means they're doing more. And a lot of our new classified staff are new, which means they need to be trained, which means our existing classified staff is doing even more. And so can't really say enough about all of those people, paraprofessionals, our food service staff, our custodians, all of them are really going above and beyond. Our paraprofessionals, the ones that we have working, you know, they're covering more than they should have to, and you know, they're our heroes right now, for lack of a better word. But they are those people are definitely our successes. So action steps, things that we're going to do in addition to the steps that were outlined in the CSIP document. First, we're going to have to take a much more active role in recruitment and retention. So having those meetings with people that are currently hired to make sure that we're meeting their needs that they currently have in their position, that's going to be paramount. But then also going out to where potential applicant pools are. And you know, like I was talking about with the maintenance staff, that doesn't always mean that we're talking about the same pool of people. So that may mean that myself and Mr. Chandler go to the Rankin job fair and set up a booth and try to attract some of those candidates. That means making sure our positions are out on different job boards in different places, trying to be creative as far as who could be a good fit. Being the outgoing high school principal, to me, that means our outgoing graduates. So when I see them at football games and things like that, I am encouraging them to consider a career with Warren County R3. And, finding that right fit. If they have evening classes, why not? You know what I mean? So doing all of those things, really beating the weeds, trying to uncover those candidates to do that. So in addition to taking that active role, like what I believe is really important is developing a sense of community within the staff that we have. If you care about the people you work with, like that's going to mean something to you, and hopefully, and it's something that we can control. And so a way that I want to try to build that is, this idea of a grow your own program. And Dr. Klingsmith, I know I'm running long, so I apologize, but we talked about the teacher recruiting sponsorship that's going to get started. So that's going to be kind of where it starts. We started the Pathway for Paras program, where paras can receive a special education certification by attending free classes that our district puts on. That creates a cohort of people that when they go through that, they have those shared experiences, and that builds community. Just jumping to number 4, I'm going to be working to build a junior leader cohort, all of our assistant principals, making sure that they have an opportunity to get together and build community so that we're training them to be the next stage of senior leaders within our district. And of course, anytime it comes to hiring, we'll always be looking for the best person, but if we're doing our jobs, then we're training the people we have to assume that. And in that same vein, reaching out to our current certified staff and even members of our classified staff, looking for to try to build an aspiring leader cohort, those that would like to see leadership opportunities, and building community within that group as well, trying to build and expand the core of our staff at Warren County R3 is something that is important. I know that just the year that I came in, there are very few remaining in the district that came in the same year I did, and those people mean something to me just because we came here at the same time. And I don't know why it does that, but it does. And so I believe in the power of that, and so that's something I'm going to be working to build. And then finally, and this was just a bullet that I copied and pasted from last year's presentation because it's still applicable. It's just trying to find whatever resources are available to increase all staff salaries. I spoke to our para shortage earlier. We had multiple candidates just this week. We're trying to push through, and when we get to the salary portion, that's when they're like, well, okay, well, I have these other things on the table, and I think that maybe I'll pursue one of those. And so that's the challenges that we're up against. And so those will be the things that I am spending my time on in order to improve and work towards the 90% CSIP goal that we're working towards. And so with that, whatever questions, yes, sir.
Good presentation, thank you. You were talking about this program where you're going to have paras be able to take free classes or whatever to work towards something.
Special ed certification.
Right.
Yes.
So when they do that, that's a great idea, but is there some caveat that they're gonna sign that once they do that through our program that they'll stay here for a certain amount of years?
No, and it's something it's already ongoing. We already
Yeah.
have a few that are participating in it, because it's really, you're still looking at a multi-year thing. It's designed for those paras that already have that initial associate's level 60 credit hours.
Sure.
And then we are providing, through our own staff, we are providing college classes taught here at Warren County R3. And Mr. Barton, I'm sure you already know, so I apologize. But yeah, so no, at this time there is no requirement for them to stay on. But at that same time, we are creating that opportunity, and so a lot of student teachers look to stay where they do their student teaching when there's an availability, and so we're hoping that is the case as well.
At the same time, it's helping us retain paras, and that's probably just as big an issue as anything else.
Good point.
Yeah, we were able to use grant money in order to fund this. So that's how this is being covered thus far.
I appreciate what you said about, we all celebrated when we knew we had all the certified staffing positions covered, but I really appreciated what you said about the non-certified people stepping up and helping us, because we know that's where the holes are in the staffing, and you can't do school with just teachers.
Sure.
You just can't do it. So I really appreciated you giving those people, you know, the recognition that
School does not happen without them.
No, there's no way. So thank you for that.
And you were talking about different pools to choose from. Is there any way that you can push them where school board members can start working for their school districts again?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right now, retired teachers, for your retired teacher members of the board, there is a critical shortage, exemption to the retirement benefit, so you can keep your retirement for up to 2 years. Once we
But you
declare
can't
critical
be
shortage,
on the board
right? You would have to
at the same
abandon your seat at the
It
board.
worked for us.
But that is another pool of candidates. Over the summer when we were looking to fill certified positions, I reached out to Mrs. Brandis and, especially for like our foreign language positions and things like that, things that were very difficult to fill. And like I said, everybody can help.
Sure, you are allowed to volunteer.
Oh, Dr. Peter Smith has made that very aware. And I do on Friday nights.
I thought that's what we were doing now.
I do on Friday. And Mr. Tennant will assure, he knows that every time I meet someone, my first question is, do you drive a bus? Oh, I'm your Clark. Nice to meet you.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
so much. Next on the agenda is the CSIP update.
Right, so according to the new MSIP 6 rules, we're supposed to review the CSIP quarterly. And so we want to make sure, really more than check the box, we probably just want to talk about this. It's a good thing, I think, that the state's pushing us to do this. What we've been doing really is getting this kicked off this year is I've been meeting with all our building principals, reviewing the CSIP with this, make sure their building goals are aligned to this. So that they're in that process right now, building those goals. Probably the thing that's happened, that you can actually see the change. We do have our mental health resource page established on the website now. So anybody can go there, it's under family resources, and it lists all of our current information about who to contact at schools, and the other links to that. So that's some progress that we're making toward that right now, and something that we can kind of check off the list, which is great, considering we just started this. So we'll still do our full evaluation of every goal in January and all the measurements at that point. But right now it's just kind of just an update, talk about a little bit of any questions we have to answer or anything. One thing I do want to point out is one of the requirements, and so under MSIP 6, our CSIP is going to be worth quite a few points. And so they have some requirements of what columns are there. And so I did add the funding source. That's something that they were just a kind of a formatting thing. They just said, where is the money coming from? And I said, well, most of these are just going to come from operational revenue. And they're like, that's fine, just put that on there. Now there are some things to say like debt service or capital projects, but most of them are all the same operational revenue. So that is a change from the original one. But other than that, that's kind of what's going on with it.
I was looking at focus areas, school, culture, and climate for staff, goal 2, and I was just the other day looking at a couple different districts to see comparison of salaries, and I picked the masters because that's like kind of in the middle of the spread, and Wright City was the highest, and so I know that we picked Wright City. Previous it was Wentzville. And then we picked Wright City, and thinking, it's in our county, it's a little bit closer, and Wright City is now higher than Wentzville in that spot. We were still, I looked at Wentzville, Wright City, Warrenton, Washington, and I feel like another W, because there's a lot of W's. And ours was the lowest.
Yeah, we haven't been able to increase the base of our teacher salary since I've started superintendent. State is exactly the same, other than the grant money helping it this year that we received from the state. But our base is the same.
I just wanted to touch on that since it was a recent
Right.
realization.
I'd like to look at goal 3, and since
Sure.
we kind of talked about the professional development portion of the mental health training will be provided to all staff annually. Would that be something in the professional development category that should be happening as well?
Yep, for sure. We see where goal 3.
Since-
Focus areas, focus
Yeah,
areas, schools,
goal,
program
yeah,
for
same,
staff.
I'm sorry, same.
Oh, same one, just one underneath.
Yeah, back where you were, but
Yeah,
down
just down.
further.
Retain staff.
I think
Right,
it's
so
page 7.
okay, there we are. Now with it. Yep, offer help, promote mental health options provided by our insurance, wellness committee, meet regular mental health training provided to all the staff annually. And Dr. Rusher, to help me, was that one of our mandatory trainings that we did this year?
Mental health?
Yeah, on just staff wellness. I know we just had a list of, I just can't remember.
I don't know.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I don't know if staff wellness in particular was one, but I don't know.
Right, that might be something that we dig into. But yeah, for sure, something that we'll want to be working on, absolutely. Right.
So next year, when the PD completed lessons, we've only got 1 out of 20 that deals with that. We should probably raise another red flag.
Yeah, potentially, but you know, one of 20, there's also 19 other big things. Teaching and learning is also very critical
I get it.
on how we do that. So, but yeah, for sure, I agree.
I just know it's really hard it's real easy for those kids to slip under the radar.
Right.
Unless there's proper training to recognize those kids, and they slide under the cracks, if you will.
Right. That's why I'm very thankful that we have 3 educational support counselors that are in
Mhm.
one of the high school, middle school, and one that services elementary. They do a lot of that, whenever those needs arise. So that is something that's helping us with our ESSER funds to have an additional one of those. I'd love to see one in every building, honestly, but I'm thankful for those 3, and those 3 do a lot with kids. And then we also, when kids are struggling, there's the problem solving teams and that sort of thing that occur, and that's when they get into the okay, what's going on, what's happening.
And I find that those ones that are reacting with behavioral,
Right.
just, you know, seeking that attention through behavioral situations, those are the ones that there's a good majority of those kids that need help that aren't seeking that
Right.
attention through that
Right.
means. So, and those are the ones that they're slipping under the cracks.
And I think having our website, at least a resource that someone can just look up and notify us.
I just want to clarify to make sure I'm understanding correctly. We kind of have dual goals for mental health. Because some of the mental health is to help teachers recognize, like Roger's saying, some of those characteristics. And then the other one is to help teachers take care of themselves,
Right.
because we all know
Right.
when people are feeling well themselves, they're able to handle their job better and cope and just do a better job overall. Is that correct?
Right, like this goal is the district will offer additional mental health options for staff.
That's staff.
That's
Is
different.
there's a section on students too, or no?
Previous.
No, we've already met it. The one that connects
Okay.
with students is the hub.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Sarah.
Now,
Yeah,
our
thanks.
previous CSIP had more of, I think, a focus on being trauma informed, which is the
Oh,
connection to
right.
students.
Right, and that's what the
But
professional.
I know that that's
development
still a push at the building level for a lot of our buildings. When we talk about building goals, there's still talk, that's still, it may not connect directly with the CSIP,
Right.
but that's what a lot of our building goals are building around, because I think that helps us just generally understand how kids are. And when you understand their story and their background, you kind of have a better understanding of how to connect with the kid. And so that's really something that we've really been pushing for. And I know that our buildings are that's still a focus in their building level for sure, because they're seeing the benefits. Because we've been working on this as a board and for a while, and they're starting to see how this is making an impact on how they can engage students and families to better work with kids and help them learn more, essentially.
Are there any other questions about the CSIP? Okay, our next item is the financial update.
All right, so this is just our standard financial update. Last month I forgot to hit the last slide, so Lucy, if I don't get to the last slide, remind me to do it. Anyway, so here's where we are, just kind of our operational revenues, where this year we're at 10.6%, a little bit, about 1%. We're about the same. Expenses are about the same. Fund balances are in much better position than we were last year, 31% compared to 18. We now have our graph starting to be developed as throughout the year, which is great. So we have 2 months of data for this year. So what I would expect, as you can see, the green line was last year, and we received a lot of our COVID relief funds. And so as you see, like in September, it flattens out. Then we receive some COVID funds at that point. We should probably continue to see a negative slope on that line, so that line going down. And then in December, January, see it jump back up. But in March, last year where we saw that big increase, that was COVID money coming in. We're not going to have that. So we should at that point start seeing it drop below that green line. So that would be kind of how I would project this year to be. I think we'll finish the year lower than we did last year on fund balances because our budget does have us deficit spending, but as Dr. Ross showed us, we have a lot of positions that are unfilled already, and so that's money that we're just not spending. So, I think we'll be close to a balance, maybe just because we're not having the staffing that we need filled. So we'll definitely be deficit, but if you subtract out our food service facility, it'll be close to even, I think, or maybe a little below, just ballparking it right now. But that would be the trend I'd expect. I'd expect it to drop down more, and then you see a jump in December, January, then you see a decline again. So,
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So, as next year is a reassessment year, when do we see that start to impact?
So we build it in next year's budget.
Okay, so we won't see it really till July?
January.
January.
Next January, not this January.
A year from
A year
January is
from
when
now.
that money
So-
would come in.
That's what I was curious about.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Right, so we would have to kind of guess a little bit on what it's going to be. We're building the budget in June. We don't really know for sure what our assessed value is. We don't know that until right before the tax rate hearing at the end of August. So we kind of have to guess what we think it's going to be, and then build a budget around that. So kind of wish it was the other way around. It'd be a lot easier, but
No, I just didn't know when we start to see
right,
Yeah.
impact.
right. So that'd be next fiscal year. So then revenues. So local money, which is our Prop C funds, which is going to be your sales tax, the half-cent sales tax. That's the main bulk of that. It's a little bit up. State funds are $15,000 higher, and then federal is going to be down. We're going to consistently see federal be down because we're not receiving the COVID relief funds. So that's kind of where the revenues are. Expenses, salaries are a little bit higher. We did give raises, so we expect to see that throughout the year. Benefits, the same way that those costs went up. Purchase services are about where they were, and supplies are slightly higher. So we're not way out of line on anything at this point. So I got to the last one. Yeah, I normally stop there. So this is just to let you know where our ending Fund 4 balances. We're at $800,000 there. At the end of the year, we want that to be around $1 million, hopefully, but we'll see kind of exactly where it'll be. So we'll see that fund drop and go up pretty drastically as a percentage, just because we have to make a big payment. We have to get a big payment reimbursed back from some of our federal funds. So I would expect to see that fluctuate pretty good for a couple months. So that's all.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, next we have a presentation from Lifesavers.
Good evening, everyone and community. I'm always in awe when I am part of a school board presentation, just to see how caring, how engaged, how passionate everyone is to just bring the school culture together to do what's best for students, but also best for the staff and also for the community as well. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. It's always a learning experience for me, and I think everybody should sit in at least one school board to see all the nuts and bolts and moving parts and passion you all have. So I promise I'll be quick. So I work for an organization called Gift of Life, and we are a nonprofit organization. And what we do is we create awareness about organ, eye, and tissue donation to high school students. And the reason we do it, our organization started about 25 years ago, and the founder's son was 11 months old when they discovered he had a very rare liver disease. And they were told that their son would not live very long unless he received a liver transplant. Sadly, an 8-year-old boy was on a camping trip with his family, had a very severe allergic reaction, went to a coma, took him to the hospital, but sadly passed away. But the family wanted their son's legacy to live on, so they generously donated their son's organs, and then the Harbor family, who started Gift of Life, their son received it. And I'm very happy to say that Luke, their child, is now 25 years old, thriving in life due to the generosity. So, like I said, they've been doing it for about 25 years, and recently, in collaboration with some other partners, including Missouri School Board Association, Missouri Kidney Foundation, Midwest Transplant, Mid-America Transplant, and Deci, they've all supported this initiative to offer a free online program to all high school students in Missouri. It is not required, you do not have to implement it, but hopefully you'll see the value in it. So, do I click, or do you guys click?
I'll click it.
All right, be my clicker, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Thank you. So as I said, who we are, it's the Deci Missouri School Board. And the reason why it's so important is that every single day, there's over 100,000 people waking up every day hoping they're gonna get a phone call for a life-saving transplant. I can't imagine, but I can't imagine because I've been doing this for so long, that that's what the real need is. Just in Missouri, there's 1,200 students waiting. Most of them are waiting for kidneys due to diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure. And very sadly, every 10 minutes, someone is added to the national waiting list. So what Learn Lifesavers does, it gives teachers the flexibility of an online program that they can implement, and you'll see in just a minute how it's really tied to the curriculum. And what our goal is that the students have information when they go to the driver's bureau to get a state ID or a license. They're asked a question, do you want to be a registered donor? Most high school students have never really had a conversation about that. There's a lot of myths out there, which you might have seen on Grey's Anatomy or Hulu or Netflix. But we give them the facts, and what our goal is not to twist their arm or persuade them to change their answer to yes, but to have a conversation with their loved ones. So we want them to be empowered, which is part of your vision. I see on your website, and when you guys first started, is to empower them so they're educated to make a decision that is right for them. So we always say it's a conversation that matters. So we're just kind of starting the conversation with the facts. Next, please. So in the 30-minute online presentation, there's a couple of videos, and it has some quizzes, and some of the quizzes are really just one question. It's like, can you sell your organs in the United States? And obviously the answer is no. It goes over things which a lot of the myths, that you cannot have an open casket. Yes, you can have an open casket. Is there any cost to donor family? No, there's no cost to donor family. So they go over again, just separating the myths from the facts. And then there's a couple of videos, which I won't make you see tonight because it's short on time, but they are very compassionate, and they're from high school students that have actually received life-saving organs. It just shows how their life has changed for the better. And then there's a teeny bit called data collection, but all it is, it's just 4 simple questions to say, is this the first time you've heard about organ donation? Do you commit to having a conversation with your loved ones? How many would it be? So it's not anything that is complicated in the survey. Data collection is all confidential. We don't want the student's name, the class name. The teacher just collected, it goes in their database, and that just helps us have an impact report, which all school boards appreciate impact reports. Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm saying thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. But I'm very close. I am very
I'm
close.
sorry.
No, that's.
Are we moving forward to the next slide?
Yeah.
That's what. Perfect.
Yes, next slide,
Yeah.
please.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There you go.
And you can keep going. This is
I'll wait.
just showing the
Oh,
two
that's just
videos.
showing the videos, okay.
And the performance metrics is just the 4 questions we ask the students. And then I think probably the last one, okay, why it's so important that one person who is a deceased donor can actually impact 70 lives, because there's 8 organs, 2 kidneys, 2 lungs that you could all, plus tissues, corneas, and then you're actually saving 8, the number of lives you can save is 8. And then if nobody registers to be a donor and nobody has that conversation, nobody's life is saved. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it, because my uncle had a heart transplant, and if somebody hadn't been caring enough and make that difficult decision, traumatic time, my uncle would not have gotten to see my cousin get married, hold his first grandchild. He loved to bowl and ride roller coasters and got to do all that. So I'm a brand new grandmother. Rosie's 6 months old, and I can't imagine not having to get to experience that, because I had a health issue and I couldn't enjoy the quality of life. And also, I just had a friend whose husband just had a corneal transplant because his vision was so bad. Each year, there's over 40,000 corneal transplants that are done that really restores someone's sight. So for me, it's seeing that grandbaby Rosie. So I think the next slide might say thank you. Oh, okay, here's tied to the curriculum. So it's, I'm going to share information with your curriculum director. It's all aligned with life management skills, decision-making, problem-solving, social, emotional, mental health skills, and molecular and organism structures in the process. So with DESE, they have made sure that we're all tied to the learning standards, grade level standards, and besides the online 30-minute program that teachers can implement anytime they want to, I'm available to do in-person presentations or even Zoom presentations. At a nearby high school, I did it to all their 9th grade health students. We do it to driver's ed students. We do it to psychology classes, so they debate the pros and cons. And I can go on, but it's so tied to the curriculum. But most importantly, it's a life skill that you all can empower your students to make the world a better place. So with that, I'll leave it to any questions you may have.
Well, real quick, I would love for if our president could explain why any of this is happening, in case anyone is thinking it's a little bit out of left field. I just would like for you, since you coordinated this, and we are just trying to follow the law.
I'm just going to pass that right over to Dr.
That's my favorite thing to do as well. Dr. Ross. Right.
I did get the email, and there's some more in-depth stuff that he can mention.
Sure, and maybe you can enlighten us a little bit too on this. So there's a new state statute that came out this last legislative session that said that school boards were required to, if a recognized organ donor organization wanted to present to the board, that we had to allow them. And so we're thankful that you're here and enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And honestly, you're not required to do it, but you were required to let me be on your agenda, and I greatly appreciate it, because I know you have a lot to discover, or a lot to discuss. So I will leave just a little flyer for each of you here, but I do appreciate your time. And with Ginger, I'm going to email you when you have a chance to vote on it, yes, no, whatever. We appreciate your consideration on it.
I do have one question for you before you go.
Yes, be glad to answer any.
Whenever I see the word data collection with student information, I like to get a little bit more information on that. So you briefly touched on that, but could you expand on the data collection from the students?
Sure, and I can send you a copy of what those 4 questions are. And all it is, the teacher would, in the online program, she would collect that I had 10 students. 10 students said it was the first time they ever heard about it. 4 of them said, I'm going to commit to do a conversation with their loved ones. 2 of them said, I'm not going to do it. So all it does, it just gives us some data and shows kind of the impact. So last year we did over 525 presentations to high schools, but we have Mid-American Transplant gives us a grant to go out and to present it, and gives us some data to share back with them that I just sit at home and watch TV all day, or did Susan really go out and do presentations, and did that presentation have any impact at all?
So it's not necessarily student information.
There's
it's just
no identifying information from the
student name,
students.
there's no class name.
Right.
All of this would just be Susie, health teacher, did this 30-minute program, and there's total number of students and what their answers were. But I'd be happy to share that, and I feel the exact same way. It's all very confidential, and
Sure.
we want to protect everybody's identity, and especially parents. If a parent wanted to opt out of it, we respect that. They don't have to do it if your school decides to do it. Still, a parent can say, "I'm sorry, I don't want my child to hear this presentation."
We appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
Do it. Here's kind of the questions. These animals sitting in this table, and then this is what I was emailing Ginger. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your district is very fortunate and blessed to have you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I hear any bus drivers, I'm gonna.
We appreciate that too.
Okay, the next item we have is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions about any of the items on there?
I move the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We're going to do a roll call vote. Rich?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Roger?
I'll abstain.
Frankie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Since I was absent, then I abstained, yes. Yeah, and I abstained.
And Deanna?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The consent agenda has been approved. Now we're moving down to, I moved down too far. Old business, safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of service plan, which is something we're required to do every so often.
Right, because we received the federal COVID relief funds, we're required to review this document every 6 months through 2023 of September. So we'll review this September, March, and again in September again. Recommendation is no changes, but there might be some, I want to make some adjustments to it, which is fine.
Yeah, I had a few adjustments that I would like to make, but I also would appreciate any responses to my suggestions. And I also didn't know if we were required to have certain information in our plan by the law. So I just want to put those things.
There are some requirements, right?
Yeah. So on page 4, it says wearing masks and other personal protective equipment, PPE. And there are 3 bullet points. It says it is always safest to wear a mask when you are closer than 6 feet from someone for longer than 15 minutes. Parents who send their child with a mask should teach them appropriate usage. And if a mask or other PPE is disruptive to the educational environment, the principal may call the parent/guardian. I think that the second and the third bullet point are great. It helps help with our objective, which is for children to learn. But I don't know if we as a district are still wanting to have the stance and push that as our plan, that families should be believing that kids should be wearing masks if they're within 6 feet for 15 minutes. And since we have that always in the underline, I just didn't know if we need that first sentence in there or.
No, we can delete that if you want to.
So that's my thoughts on that piece, just deleting, saying that that's what people should be doing, and just allow it that if someone's sending their, I think people are educated to do what they would like to do, and the second and third, parents should, if they're going to send their kids, then they should have a conversation with how to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then the page 6, it says physical distancing. It says when possible, physical distancing will be encouraged. I know that we like kids keeping hands to themselves, especially in elementary, we call it graffiti, but I don't believe that we are still trying to encourage kids and staff from being physically distanced from one another. And so I was wondering if we have to keep.
I think the reason that was in there, in these short ones, except for breakfast and lunch, that was just our clarification. I think physical distancing, I think I had to keep something in there on that, but we can change it. I need to go back and look at the document, to be honest with you, because I don't recall off the top of my head what was required and what's not. but just the way it's put together makes me think that I did that because it was a requirement to have that in there.
But encourage versus required is totally different, though.
Sure,
Oh, right.
sure. Yeah, it doesn't say we're requiring it.
I can look it up and say if it's okay to take it out, we can take it out. I can double check that if everybody's okay with
I
that.
just don't know if we are still expecting our teachers to be encouraging it, and so, because I don't think that that's what we're doing.
I feel like we're so past that.
I agree, which is why I was wondering if we would remove it.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Can you just check to see?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
okay with everybody if he looks to see if
Yeah,
it's a
then
requirement?
we can approve it as pending
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
And
Okay,
then
check.
the other one is page 6, same page, it says vaccination. The district encourages everyone to get the vaccine. The vaccine is required for children to attend school. If needed, the district will work with the local health officials to provide a mass vaccination event for children. At this time, there are no mass vaccination events planned at the school. So, I think out of those sentences, so there's 4 sentences, I felt like the second sentence is the only one that we would really need to be in there. I feel like the third and fourth, we have no plans to have a mass vaccination event. I think that if people are interested in the vaccine, they certainly know where they can go. They certainly, have access to that information. And so I think that like saying any of that is unnecessary. And I don't know if you guys are wanting to keep that first sentence in. The district encourages everyone to get the vaccine. I don't know if that's still what we as a district, as a board, are wanting to say. I am fine not saying it because I feel as though everyone already has the information that they are interested in. And I don't know if the district needs to be saying what we want people to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And honestly, I mean, I appreciate you, Sarah, just going through all these things and thinking through that because I
She
did not.
spent time and I didn't, and I appreciate that.
So Sarah, you're saying the first sentence,
I'm
correct?
saying the second sentence
Oh,
is what I would,
second, okay.
I'm
Just-
fine keeping. If
Oh,
we
okay.
have, like, for example, if by law we have to have something in our plan about vaccination,
Right.
the second sentence
100%
is
sure.
saying the vaccine is not required for children to attend schools.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Just
if
just
we
leave
need
that.
to have something, then that sentence is sufficient to me. If people need to know where our school stands on that, then that to me says where I stand as a board member on that. And so-
But that would definitely meet the requirement if it's required, as long as,
Yeah.
because the bold headlines were, I'm pretty sure when we put this together, the topics that we had to have information on. Underneath it can be whatever we want, and so I think that'd be fine.
So that's where I stand. If anyone else has any thoughts or
Objections?
pushback.
No, I agree.
I think you're
Other sections were, if anyone wants to know, it was essentially like, hey, we should encourage hand washing. So I'm fine with doing all of that.
That should
Sure.
be all
Yeah.
the time, anyway.
Yeah, again, just to touch on it, because it was such a big part of our lives for so many meetings. If you want to read through it, it's, just encouraging people to continue to check themselves if they're feeling sick, be aware of what the symptoms are. And, for a lot of sicknesses, people should not be coming to school. And so hopefully people are being thoughtful about that.
So do we need to move the approval with the changes?
I would say as amended, and what kind of my direction that I'm getting from you is check on physical distancing. If that's not required, take it out.
Yes.
But if it is required, are we okay keeping that sentence in there?
Because it just says
Yeah,
encouraged.
I think
and
that's,
it's
I couldn't think of another word to,
Right.
so I don't say physical distance will occur, because that's not necessarily
No.
true.
I mean, they still encourage it at all the restaurants because every time I walk into one, it says on the floor, stop here, whatever. Respect your.
I'm a big fan of personal space anyway.
Me
so-
too.
There's that.
And I know from even watching my granddaughter's classes and stuff too, that the teachers are still not that they're going out of their way to encourage it, but they're still respecting the fact that they are. I'm sure some teachers are doing certain things, desks not on top of each other like they used
For
to.
germs, yeah, I'm sure,
know,
yeah.
So I mean, it's all. And I think we're better off now. I saw the news this morning that there's an uptick. Well, of course there's an uptick because school's starting. So I think we're better prepared now to handle this since we've had the experience that we've had. Yeah. So if there is another situation.
So
Yes.
like the changes that I articulated, like when would those be on it so that
Oh,
we
tonight.
know.
After the
Tonight.
meeting, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. So
And in your motion, you'll just say it as amended,
Right.
instead of going through each one of them.
I move that we adopt this, approve this as amended with the caveat that you're going to check that one item and make sure that we are in compliance.
I'll second.
A motion's been made and seconded to approve the amended Safe Return to In-Person Instruction and Continuity of Service Plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And now we're on to new business. This is a long meeting tonight.
Yep, so hopefully this is a short one.
You're the president.
President's
Right,
fault.
right. So we've got, on this one is just, we need to approve our final fund balance. This is the ASBR that we have to report to the state. And we ended last year at 35.29, which earlier reported was at 34, but after we closed all the accounts and everything, it came up a little bit. So those are final fund balance at the end of last year.
I move to approve the ASBR as presented.
And I'll second.
A motion's been made and seconded to approve the ASBR as presented. Are there any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Increase hours of latchkey.
Right, we have a vacant position for latchkey at Rebecca Boone that we need to fill. It's a 1-hour position. We have an increased enrollment there. Is the reason we need to increase the hours to a 3-hour position. So that's what we're asking to do. And the additional revenue should cover the additional cost.
I make a motion to increase the latchkey position at Rebecca Boone from 1 hour to 3 hours.
A second.
A motion's been made and seconded to increase the latchkey position at Rebecca Boone from 1 hour to 3 hours. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to policy first reads.
Right, so this is our time to kind of adjust anything we want to adjust. We probably want to talk about the colors of the mascot policy a little bit, but the kernel background checks, we need to change from Dr. Jones to Dr. Ross. And then our summer hours policy, I tried to make it real specific before, that caused confusion, so this is hopefully making it less confusing. And then the CI policy, the colors of the mascot one, it's our first draft of this, and so I tried to capture what we had in our meeting last week, and now would be the time if we want to make any changes or adjustments, we could do that.
I was wondering if you could talk on why we had, so I know why we did, because we talked about it at our work session. It was an open work session, so anyone could have attended. But would you mind sharing some of the sentiment and the motives for why there was a committee formed in order to solidify what our school colors are?
Right, exactly. And so one of the major concerns that we have as a district is none of this is written down. There's no preventative measures for anyone doing just changing anything they wanted to change. The board would have no authority, the superintendent would have any authority, and so we wanted to have a process and a system in place that would have it written down, and we would identify what's official, what's not official, and so that was kind of the motivation behind it on there. And so, as we discussed last week, we kind of all generated our ideas, what we thought was important. And I tried to capture those in this policy, but we can adjust those as needed.
So was the idea of creating a logo ruled out, and that the committee was only looking at some pre-existing ones?
Right, that was the direction I felt I had from the board last time, is that we were just looking at the existing ones. We need to decide which ones are official.
Yeah, so I guess the one thing that I remember talking about, I don't see necessarily in the policy. So I know we talked about the one kind of official logo that we would use for most things, but then we had talked about like an approved list of other logos to use. So like like the rounded W with the spear through it. Is that in the? I didn't see that in the policy. I guess as far as
Right,
other,
so I thought we wanted
images.
to define one, and so that's what I left trying to do. And so then I do have in the policy here, all new images and slogans must be approved by an image approval committee. So we would probably not approve the curved W with the arrow through because it's not the same W that's our official one. Now, if somebody wanted to use our official W and put the arrow through it, we'd probably approve that. But what we're trying to do is have a small committee instead of having a large document that would, so you have to have X, Y, and Z to be approved, but we'd have a small committee that would be nimble, as we talked about last time, to run it by us, make sure it's good, and then we'd move forward with it. But our goal is to tighten our brand, as we discussed last time.
Well, I don't personally have a problem with this having, as was stated earlier, a district-wide thing for, like, Morton High School, Rebecca, using that. But when it gets into teams and clubs, and I have a big problem with this.
So, in my head, it's just that if the W was going to be on a shirt, because not all like teams, like I had drama shirts that said "Save the drama for your lawn," and it had a lawn on it, and it said our high school. It didn't have anything to do with anything, and I still have it. And so, like, I think it's more of if you're going to have the W, it would be this stuff. Is that what we're thinking, like for our uniforms and like?
Well, what we discussed last time was all shirts and images on shirts, or any uniforms or any T-shirts, because we've had issues where shirts were not appropriate necessarily.
But it's just,
some people's
it's not
eyes.
stopping other things from being done. It's just that it would get approved.
Right, we'd have approval processes that would go through.
But they're narrowing it down to that boring W.
If you're going to use the W.
You're right, absolutely. And so last time we did talk about all slogans and all images, we go through that. But we can, like I said, this is our first draft. Now it's time to adjust and change it if we want.
I mean, I do think this is a good example of people sitting around thinking they've all came to the same idea and then to discover later that perhaps they did not. I do remember us discussing specifically, I think you brought it up, like one W. And I think I gave the example is that you could use the W with a football or with a whatever, and that would be fine, but it would be the same W. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly,
Right.
But that's what I thought we decided, that we wanted to define a W, but then we don't want to squash creativity.
Correct.
So there would be a possibility of having other images along with the W. Roger, you spoke a little bit about this. Am I capturing?
No, that's what I had thought where we had landed as well, and I was kind of a little not upset, but I was like, well, this really seems like a mess now.
Yeah.
What I thought we had discussed was a font, which could be that W, right? So we need a font.
What is it, college bold?
College bowl.
Yeah, so we
Thank
need
you.
a font, we need a logo, and we need colors. Now, I know that, I hear what you're saying, but if you look at other schools, that image is consistent through all sports teams. If you look at any business where branding is consistent, that image is one image. And I think that's, I'm looking at it as a business, as a branding, we need to be more consistent through our school and not squash that creativity. Like you said, if you want to put a spear through a W, perfect, you can do that, but use this W, right? Whatever W we chose, if you want to scroll to it.
Well, I like that W right there.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Tip.
Or is that right?
That's not the right one.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not the
look
correct
wrong.
one.
Yeah.
That's one
Well,
of
Yeah.
5.
So,
Or this one here,
Or
or this
maybe
is
right.
different, like this.
and as our guest speaker had mentioned too, it's okay to have a crest, right? That crest that's symbolic,
That's symbolic of
impressive.
the high school.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the high school crest.
Well, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
and that's why I like the fact of that being the official crest that goes on anything that's official for
Right.
the district.
Right.
But leave my basketball team out of this because I've got to convince kids to wear it.
But if they're
And I got to and the kids you'll say, well, the kids will still be excited about it. No, they won't. And they'll first say, and because I asked them one time, will you play better if I get you those uniforms that are cooler? Yeah, coach, you'll play better. Okay. And then I would have to go defend myself to my administration and I wasn't getting out of the box, trust me. Trust me, go back and look at all the history. We were red and white. I didn't put any black on there, any accent. Because my babysitter,
Well, Rich, you
my
go back
babysitter
to
would
her.
have
It's
beheaded me,
maroon.
and she raised my children. But I understand where you come
But
from.
yeah, that's not
Last
how it
weekend-
works in the business. You know, that's not how it works in you know, in other situations. If I went to my employer and said, I want to, all right, all my employees that are working on my job site, they're going to wear this shirt with this logo on it. They're not going to wear your logo anymore. I mean, that just isn't how it works.
But you go to you brought up Mizzou last week. I got a hat last week from Mizzou. First time I'd ever seen it.
Yeah.
A different M that I've never seen before. The football team, the volleyball team, they all have different things that they sell their program with.
Mhm.
So I need to sell my basketball program. I came here in 1989, and you couldn't have found a Warrington T-shirt in this community. Kids didn't wear them. They didn't go to the mall and wear them. I'd go to see the mall, and I'd see all these other students from other schools wearing their stuff. So that was one of the first goals that we had as a coaching staff, is we were going to get T-shirts and stuff, and we did. I mean, and kids wear stuff now, every program, and everybody's proud to put T-shirts, Warriors on their T-shirts, and I'm passionate about this.
Well,
And
then we
I think we're squashing something that necessarily doesn't need to be handled from this board.
Well, then we're saying that branding our school isn't important.
I'm saying that, yes, if you want to brand the school, Warren County R3 School District, and have a logo for the Warren County R3 School District for each school in the buildings or whatever. If the principal, Rebecca Boone, wants to have a staff shirt and you want it to have the Warrenton logo on there, fine. I can see that. That is a school.
So you're talking about the academics?
Yes.
Academics.
Or the logos that, the letterheads and the envelopes and the things such as that.
Like official stuff.
But when you're talking about, if you start narrowing down this to teams, it was mentioned, they won't order. You will not see kids wearing T-shirts in this school district anymore. I truly believe that.
If they have to go through a committee.
No, I'm still okay with the committee.
Okay, that's
Because I want somebody, because I've told you, I didn't say publicly why I'm passionate about that.
Well,
I still want somebody to approve some of these, because people don't have the couth sometimes to
We want to
put
make
good
sure
things out there.
things are respectful.
Exactly. And I'm not mentioning any names. I'm just saying I've seen it happen. But I'm not talking about getting a committee to decide what W is being used. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I hate the spear going through the W. I have always hated it. I love the W that it's in, but I don't like the spear. That's always been a personal, but I went with it. I never made anything of my own programs with that spear. But I do like that W because it's aggressive. It's aggressive. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
I guess again, I want to go back and ask, because this is the crest, not the logo.
Right.
It would be on official documentation, but I thought what the committee was deciding was a W, and we had quite an extensive conversation on it. And I thought we would agree that we would choose, the committee would choose, not us, one W to use. They can still be creative, Rich. But they use the
Creative
W.
with what though? To explain creativity with that W. How could I use? And it's not even that W.
Sorry.
So I think you're.
Is that, Rich, it is this W.
It is
that.
That's the W.
That's the W that was approved at the committee.
Yeah.
Well, so what
Which
we're
is
saying
eligible.
though, what we're saying is we're making every program in this school, every program, use that W in some creative fashion. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's if they're going to use the W.
They don't even
If
have to
the
use the
program
W.
is not, if a program is making a shirt that has no logo of the school on it, they don't have to have that W on every single shirt.
Okay. So you're saying that, because I very rarely put a W on any of my shirts. I would put Warrington Warriors or Warrington. I can use that any way I want.
Yep.
But
So-
I don't see the W as a logo. I see the W
Right.
as the font.
The font, correct. We're still missing the
We're
logo.
missing the logo. If you
Well,
really need a
we
logo,
don't have a
we'll see the
logo. Well, let me ask you this. What do you
said?
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Well, the W
That's what I
with the
thought.
spear through it could have been a logo. So I'm wondering what you guys think, and this is just an idea. I always have crazy ideas. What do you think if we have somebody from the original committee, or maybe the whole, bring in a few more students to vote on an idea? Or what?
Well, if
Like,
we're gonna
how are
go
we
through a
gonna
whole
decide?
logo, like the charge was pretty clear not to develop a new logo.
Right.
That was-
Right.
that- I
No,
got
I
that.
agree with you,
That was
but
pretty
now,
clear.
but now
if
as I
that's
hear
a
more
whole
discussion.
separate process.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, we can allow the creativity with the logos, as long as if they're gonna use a W, they use this W.
Correct.
But you're still gonna let them be creative with any other logo, but the logo still has to be approved through the committee.
Yeah.
To
No,
be,
that's
to
wrong.
approve them.
It's not a logo.
We're using
it's
that
an
font.
image.
You need a logo. You need a, like, C6, I mean, it's changed now, but, you know, it used to be that Indian with the single feather. You saw that logo, you knew that was Fox C6, right? And I'm just using that because it's top of my head. Because I was at their school just the other day. But anyway, that's the same. That's their logo. And that's what, if you want to brand your school district, that's what you need. You need a logo. You need a font for your shirts and things. And if you want an official crest, you know that's the official crest.
Well, let me get a feel for what everybody's saying, because I'm not sure I know where people are standing. Is the idea that we're struggling with, well, I know your idea of different W's. I just personally think we should have one W, use it different ways. But that's just me.
Sure.
Is the problem that we're struggling with, and we did say pick a font and a W, but is now thinking about it more and talking about it more, is the real issue that we have only picked a W for the logo and we need another image with it? Or what's the problem?
Oh, you've already said that. As long as they use that W, they can do whatever, they can spruce it up any way they want.
Right.
If they're using that W.
Right, but they're
But
saying
you're also saying though they can do anything they want as long as they don't use that W.
Well, if you're going to incorporate a W, then you have to keep a consistent W.
Okay.
If you don't want to incorporate a W, you don't have to. So,
Because there's shirts all the time that are just words on them, or, you know, like there's other
Right.
shirts, and so, like, people can still be creative and not have our logo on them. I mean, I look back at.
But what gets confusing is there's a bunch of headdress images being used right now through all these programs, and that's, to me, a branding issue. So branding's not important. That's what we need to decide, right? If we aren't concerned about branding the school district, we need to just let all that. We need to allow that. But if branding's what is important, you need a single logo. You need a font, and I would be okay if adding that crest, in policy. I think that probably needs to happen, right? If that's our official crest, we need to probably have that in policy as well.
Is that the crest for the district or for the
It's the high school, honestly.
well,
But
Yeah,
it's a crest,
I like
though.
it.
It's not
This
a
one
logo.
says Warren County
It's
R3
not-
School District.
yeah,
Right.
that's fine.
So
yeah.
It's not a
it's for the whole
logo, though,
district.
it's a crest.
Yeah.
It was created for the high school at one time.
Right.
But the old crest has Warren County R3 on it. That's still in the gym, and then all the way to the high school is at Warren County R3.
And somebody brought up a good point in the paper today too, that the school sits in, it's Warrenton High School in Warrenton, Missouri, but yet it encompasses the county. So they brought up a good
They
point
want the
about that,
R3.
but there was an argument about that one time. But I will go on record as saying that I agree with what Roger said about is the branding the issue. I will go on record saying no. I would not. I don't think branding the school district is important to me. But you guys got to answer that for yourself.
So before we crawled into these weeds, my issue was, are we being consistent with what we're allowing? Are we being respectful? And are we looking at that? And are we being consistent then? If we say one thing is respectful and then we turn around and allow something else that is maybe questionable,
Well,
we need some consistency and fairness. And so that was why I was thinking if we had a small group that was in charge, because it shouldn't be the board, a small group that was in charge of looking at proposed t-shirts or whatever, and just making sure we're being respectful.
Well,
That was my whole issue in the beginning, and I didn't even.
And I agree with you. The respectful thing, I would hope that the coaches, whoever, the sponsors, whoever's doing this would be professional and be responsible. On the other hand, I would hope that the owners of the businesses would know that that's not a good idea, and would advise those sponsors as well. But, you know, but again, going back to your question, if you're forming this committee, the same committee is going to make the questions or the decision for everything, so therefore it should be consistent.
Right, I do think the committee idea.
I like the committee idea. I mean,
gives some protection.
I do agree that branding is important. It kind of pulls things together. I'm not like, it has to be this certain thing, but I do like the idea of one font. Like Cierra pointed out in the last meeting, like you can pull it up and Google it, and there's all kinds of images. So it's not really consistent, but more important to me would be a committee to review images.
So we haven't touched on the vendor idea. I know that in our previous meeting that was suggested. That's not something that I'm necessarily passionate about, restricting I understood the logic behind it. If people want to talk about why that was suggested, and I don't know who at the committee had brought it up too, but I, in my eyes, as long as we have a font, and then if they know that that's the W that we're wanting, then that consistency and also the high-res image is going to be given to a vendor, and I believe that they would be able to do, if that's what is decided, they would be able to do that.
I'll go whatever direction the board
And I'm passionate there again, as I use local vendors every single time. To my record, I don't think you can go back and find anything that I didn't use, whether it was Hearts, whether it was Eagle Activewear, whether it was Tom Smith's, which is now Visual down there, Forward Visual. I'm not saying we have to, but I know a lot of coaches are going elsewhere, but I just think that we should, you know, it's just a good community thing to support your own people that are, that's a personal thing on my part. I'm a diehard Warrior, I'm a diehard Warrenton. I wasn't born and raised here, I didn't graduate from here. But I love this community, I love the school, and I just think that I try to support our community all the time. And I don't like the fact that if we give a vendor a 3-year contract and they're from St. Charles.
Or New York.
Or whatever, yeah.
I don't like that.
Same topic, but a question. Where do we get all of our paper?
Where do we get all?
Is that all from one vendor?
We go through Ed Plus.
And that's all through one vendor, correct?
Right.
Not every year though.
Right, but then what they'll do is they bid out for all districts that are members of that.
So what are the advantages of using one vendor for all the school district paper?
It's cost savings.
Okay, so that's the same point with using one T-shirt vendor, one apparel vendor, along with.
I don't know that it is.
So.
Nope.
No, because you have so many clubs and organizations that they pay for their own T-shirts, right? It's not saving the district money necessarily, in my opinion, to limit it to one vendor.
Now, if you wanted to do that for uniforms, that's a different story.
I would agree, uniforms, different story, right?
If you want to use one vendor for uniforms, that's fine with me, whether it's BSF or whatever, because the local people don't make those uniforms on the most part. You have to go to the BSF.
So I'm not saying I order T-shirts every day, but
right.
I order some stuff. So you're telling me there would be no cost savings?
Can I educate the board for a second?
I'm good.
Just for a moment.
I would prefer to talk with you after the meeting. We'll have a conversation if you'd like, but as we're into our agenda, we're not going to make a decision tonight.
I understand, but it really would help your situation, Mayor.
I understand, but I'm going to decline it this time. Sorry.
And we're not voting on it.
We're not voting on anything, so we'll have time to dialogue with you.
So I'm just, and we'll discuss this later, but I'm actually very, very close to someone who is a marketing director and does a lot of ordering and things of that nature. And I'm under the impression if you use a vendor, you have one control, over images and what goes in and out, right? And then there is cost savings to the district if all orders go through them.
Right, and that's what Mr. Snyder was saying.
All-
If you're doing uniform, but if I'm doing T-shirts, it has nothing to do with the school district. They're not paying any money on this.
Where does that money come from?
From the kids and that
Right.
program.
So you wouldn't be looking at the best interest to get them the best value?
You bet I do,
Okay.
locally.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't even oversee it, like, we don't have
Right.
our hands in it
Right.
at all.
If the music boosters buy T-shirts.
Right.
And they have a member of the music boosters who says, I'm able to print those for you and I can give you this discount, why wouldn't you let them do that? That's not
Well,
up
here's
to us. It's
I will
not
tell you
even
the
our
biggest problem with
business,
that.
really.
I will tell you, as a personal, and it was brought up tonight, and I'm going back years, and Mr. Hart will appreciate this. He's retired, so it's not giving him any extra business. But I would order, and Myra was on my staff. She was a part of my program, and she was very good. All the ladies that helped me run they kept me out of trouble. I would order 27 T-shirts. And then the kid said, oh, Coach Barton, I got my money today. Can I get one? Hey, Carrie, can you print one more? And he would do it immediately. You know what I mean? Those types of things, because you had a rapport with those people, those businesses.
Connection.
I can't call the guy and the vendor and probably get that type of situation.
Yeah.
But I understand from the school district. I understand if the school district's saving money on their paper and their gas tanks and their whatever, that's a different story.
There's probably a smaller amount of people making those orders. You know, there's not all the coaches, there's all sponsors.
The basketball program had one shirt twice a year. Once for the season, once for the summer camps.
All right, let's see if we can at least give him some sense of direction, because it sounds like he's going to be rewriting some portions.
Yeah, which is fine, that's fine. Sure, the first draft
before
is
we
right.
actually vote on it. So we all agree that it sounds like we all agree that the process of reviewing images through a committee is a good idea.
A small committee.
Yeah, we have a small committee.
And right now, that committee right now is set up as superintendent, athletic director, and a member of either the Alumni Association or retired teachers. So we have some historical.
And you.
And myself, there's three of us. So it would be either an alumni person or retired teacher, or that'd be one person.
Right. So three, and it would be like a 2/3 vote or something.
Yeah, so 2/3. If two people say it's good, then it goes forward, and that way, like, Deanna said last time, it'd be an odd number, so it's a great idea.
Okay. Because I feel like keeping it small helps to facilitate the decision.
And with technology today, they shoot an email.
Okay, so is everybody okay with that part about the committee?
Yes.
Yep. I think it helps address the concern that Myra brought up as well about a 5-step process that nobody's going to want to go through, right?
Right, nobody's
It should be
going to
pretty
do that.
streamlined.
We know that.
But it does put some, because right now, there's nothing, anybody can just go do whatever they want, and
So, that's a go.
Okay, keep that section.
I still don't know what the thoughts on the W is, or if people feel like we need more than a W for the logo, if people want to open it up to any kind of W. I can't feel how people think about that.
The W is not a logo, it's just picking a font for that W that gets used on whatever.
And so you're okay with one W?
So we probably need to change the title there from logo to font, or.
Yes, okay.
So change that from logo to font, college bold red, and I'm gonna keep that image that's in the policy right now as an example of, so you can go, okay, logo to font.
We're gonna get feedback, trust me.
Well, we can, that's good, we still have a second reading.
Is there an image of a warrior that the committee decided on? If we were to have an image of a warrior that's like blanketly used, was anything approved?
We did look at the sign views of the warrior and the different ones that are at the high school. We just approved all of those because we didn't really feel like it was too specific to determine. Because our focus really was on the W, and could you use other approved images? Well, sure, that's a nice profile of a warrior. That one's okay. We did deny one we didn't think was very good.
It wasn't very good artistically.
Right, it wasn't very good artistically, so like that was out.
So there, are we, when we talk about a logo, are we wanting to approve an image of a warrior as a logo in case a team wanted to utilize that? So is that not, because you're saying that's not a logo, so are we eating a logo?
No, stay away from
I
that.
think we were just going to change that to font instead of logo. And then you have some pre-approved images and
Sure.
we can add others too,
Right.
correct?
Okay. But like, for example, the W on this right here in front of us is probably gonna need a change, as that's not the font that we're looking for.
Eventually, but we're
Right.
not spending money yet.
Sure, we'll probably just stop using it.
Phase it out.
Right.
So without a,
Right.
without a official school logo, is that,
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think people, I don't know. Jeff?
That's where I'm at.
Okay.
We do not need an official school logo. The brand, the brand of the school is not the original intention of this discussion. And I agree with Rich when he says that to him it's not important to have a.
But you're
school
okay
brand.
with the font?
I like consistency. I mean, I agree with probably everything that's been said, even though there's a whole lot of contradiction, right? I know it makes no sense, but.
You're not even running in April, you don't have to agree with all this.
No, I personally believe, I mean, I like consistency, but I don't believe we need a brand for this school district, right? I like having a process to have things approved that are gonna go on helmets or,
Simple process.
Simple process,
Yeah.
yeah. And that, to me, that was the whole intent of this discussion
Okay.
was,
Yes.
what process do we need approved? And it took many different forms, obviously.
Right.
A lot of them I did not expect.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
I'm glad to have the conversation.
Me too.
I mean,
but what I keep hearing is everybody wants consistency, but without that brand, and we keep using the word brand, but without a consistent brand, you're not gonna have that consistency that you're looking for. So
if
I'm
the
just-
consistency is that W, I don't want it. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
And-
It's boring. I don't like. I would pitch it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, you want it as long as you have other images
as long
to
as-
use with it?
Exactly.
You're okay with the
I'm fine with
font?
it being an option.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I don't think it
Okay.
should be the font.
Well,
I don't think we should agree on the font. I think all we should agree on is we just need a committee to approve logos, images, whatever somebody wants to use as far as the school's concerned.
I guess,
Everything else shouldn't even matter to us. They need to have that creativity to do what they want.
I know, but I do feel like we gave the committee, like I said last time, I don't want this to be, we give the committee a job, whether it's the three or this big committee or whatever, and then we override them, because then that takes their decision making.
That's our job.
Planning and zoning all the time.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you, Dr. K.
That's your
It's planning
job.
and zoning. I agree with you. That was very well said.
It
Thank
should
you for
just be
speaking
really
up.
simple.
Yes.
So we're just-
because I don't think we want to open up that. Where are we going to stop?
Right.
It's overreach.
We're gonna stop once it's a policy.
It's overreach, though. We're doing things that don't. I mean,
We don't have a marketing director. We don't have a communications department. We don't have, like, our district is too small. We had it and we had it. And so other districts have a person who says that, like, this is what everything's gonna look like, and we don't have that. And so here we are, a group of 7 volunteers trying to figure out to give the district some direction, so we don't have 5 different things being printed on all these different things all the time.
and that's why I'm passionate about it, because we had that person in place and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. But we don't now, and so here we are trying to figure out what are we going to do.
Even if I mean, I would love to get that person back. I mean, I was one of the advocates for that position. I pushed and pushed for that, and I hate to see it eliminated, just because I know how valuable that and proactive that person can be to the district.
Exactly.
So when he does come back, or she, whoever that person, if we can't get that position back, they're still gonna need guidance from the school district.
Sure.
They're still gonna need that branding, that logo, that font, whatever they can use to create those official school documents with. And
I just don't think it's the job of this board to deal with when there's so many other issues.
We're
We're
dealing
spending.
with the other issue.
Huh?
We're dealing with the other
Well,
issue.
you said that, so go back to my original, you said that, she said we don't need that fund. Then you said, well, we gave this committee this guidance. Yeah, we had a whole sheet of things. And they chose one.
But if they would have chose one other W that you liked better, would that have been okay?
Well, for me personally, yes, but
Okay.
I'm not worried about me personally. I'm worried about all these coaches. I'm protecting the coaches out there because I'm trying to think with them that they're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, you are restraining me.
Well, and I think creativity was part of our discussion last time, and I did not want to restrain creativity. But to say that the board has no reason to try to discuss something like this, I do disagree with you on, Rich. Most of the time I agree with you.
I know.
But on that I disagree with you
Okay.
on, because
And
I think it is
respectfully.
our job to make policy, and heaven forbid that we want to make something look professional. Like, I mean,
That's
I'm
what-
offended when people in the district act like we can only focus on one thing at a time. We're juggling dozens of things every meeting we have.
Sure.
And so this doesn't make me unable to think about curriculum or professional development. But I mean, I don't really feel strongly about any of it other than having the committee. I do feel strongly about that.
Me too.
I think that's
Well
what we
said.
all agree on.
Because
Having a committee to approve whatever it is that comes across our desk.
That's
social
the
media
one
is
thing
wrong.
we can agree on.
That's right.
Sounds good. Well, I can include that in the policy. I would also like to put our school colors and our school mascot in there.
Yes.
Can we
We
define
agree on
that?
that.
Okay.
And I think your general statement in the beginning, we're committed to promoting school spirit in a respectful manner,
Yep.
is great.
Right.
I like
Oh,
that.
and
Well,
I
and-
think that needs to be in there, but
I would be willing to bet that Missouri, before long, will follow other state statutes and outlaw all Native American imagery on school mascots. And so we'll be coming across this again. you
Right,
know.
and I agree with you there because
I know I won't, it won't be in my time on the board, but eventually it's gonna come up.
And that's why I've always advised, even when I was still teaching 8 years ago and coaching, that I always advised everybody in the school district, don't use warriors on your big, like on the football field and on the basketball court. Use the W because we're still Warrenton, you know? We're not changing the W, it's still Warrenton, so if we go to whatever, but I think that day's coming too. I don't.
But until that day.
Until that day. Let's have a committee.
All right, so things I'm going to do, just make sure I'm clear on this. So we're going to have the general statement, we'll have the official school colors, official mascot name, official mascot imagery. We will delete the section that talks about logos. We will keep our process for additional imagery and slogans improved. So that'll be basically the committee outlines the committee. We have a location for approved items, and then we're deleting the vendor section. Is that correct?
yes.
Yes. Okay, just making sure I had that correctly. Okay.
And then we get to read it all over again next month.
That's right.
Right.
Sounds good. But that's why I have first read. So we
Way.
vote yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we vote, we move on.
There you go.
All right.
So the direction is no brand.
At this time.
Just have a committee approve and do.
And I'll go on the record saying that is a mistake,
Okay.
So noted.
if you guys couldn't tell.
I like that.
Okay, we don't have to vote on it, so.
I'll do. That's it. Celebration.
Celebrations. After all that, let's celebrate something. I'm actually going to celebrate that we can disagree quite vigorously and still come out smiling and appreciate each other and respect each other's differences of opinions. I really do appreciate that working with this board. So I'd like to celebrate us in that. Anybody else have any celebrations, anything that's happened recently?
I would like to celebrate something, and I'm sure they have no idea that I will do this for them. But the first football night, I thought the band and Miss Friedman did an absolutely amazing job. And because I was actually going to be gone that night, and I thought to myself, I just couldn't bring myself to miss that night because I thought Miss Friedman deserved my full attention to that night and making sure her first night went well. And I told her personally, what a great job that band did that night throughout the whole game. We were losing, but you couldn't have told it if you'd have seen it been sitting next to that band. She had them involved because she had big shoes to fill. And I think she was amazing, and her assistant and the whole group. The kids were phenomenal, and I just wanted to celebrate them tonight. I seen it, I witnessed it, I appreciate it, and I hear them every morning. And I will tell you this, we heard them from the golf course yesterday on a really quiet morning at 7 o'clock. You can hear the band playing 3 miles south of town. Isn't that crazy?
I was also at the game, and they did do a phenomenal job. I really enjoyed listening to them. Is there anybody else that wants to have a celebration?
I would celebrate the fact that our football team went and helped yesterday to unload the wall that heals. It was just kind of a really nice thing for the school to help the community that way, and that wall is personally important to me, and so I appreciate those guys helping do that, and I think that was a good thing for them to go and do. I know it was during school hours, but it's a civic thing, it's a patriotic thing, so I appreciate it.
And cross-curricular, you might be, I don't know if you were going to say something about with the band and the FFA. I know we had a couple of FFA.
Yeah, we said something about that, I think the last
time. That made the state band or whatever. That's really cool.
National
That's really
FFA
cool.
band.
Yeah, it's good to see programs that are working together to make the best for our kids, too, giving them those opportunities.
Anyone else? Okay, we're on to work session items for September.
Right, so we need a little bit of collaboration on what we want to do here. In April 24, we have potential to do about $22 million in a no tax increase bond issue. I met with the city earlier today, and they said that we have, what they tell me, counting all the apartment units, it's about 950 new homes, counting the apartment units that are coming to the district. And so we probably need to be thinking about how we're going to handle growth, what are we going to do, what's our plans, and we probably need to start thinking about and deciding what we would do in April 24 this school year. So I didn't know if we want to start doing some community engagement on that. We could just send a message out. We're meeting on the 22nd. Come talk to us about what you feel like you need, what the district needs to do, what direction facility-wise we need to have to handle growth, and just start getting some ideas, and then we can kind of solidify that as we go through the year. But I don't know if we want to do that. The other thing I need to talk a little bit about is career ladder, which is what we got some new information from the state on that. And that might take a board vote though. So I don't know if you want to do both of those on the same night potentially, or.
I'm sorry, did I missed, were you thinking about this being involving some community members in the discussion about our building?
I think so, kind of like what we did with the pre-K, expanding pre-K, and just anybody come talk to us and just have kind of an open time to have a conversation about it with anybody that wants to come talk with us.
Are you gonna have people kind of pre-register, not that that's a requirement, but just to give us a heads up of how many people are coming, or no?
We can do that if you want, and then if we have to change location because so many people are going to be here, we can at least push that out, that the location changes.
It was nice. I felt like it was nice knowing kind of the size that we were going to be engaging with. But I'm also fine if we don't, in case that helps people not. But it kind of helps people maybe commit a little bit, like put it on their calendar because they signed up.
I don't know if you want to go down that road or not, but you know, we do need to decide this in the next 4 or 5 months, kind of what our plan is going to be.
The career ladder thing, is that something we need to vote on, work on soon?
Yeah, so they came out with information at the end of the month of August, said that we have to have it budgeted by September 30th, and part of that is having board approval, or at least pending board approval, something like that. So I'd hate for, if we wanted to go down that road, something that we would have time to discuss.
Yeah, let's get it done.
All right.
Yeah, I think we
So,
should.
so do you know how much time that would take at the meeting? Would it be possible to start the meeting, what do we normally do, 5 o'clock, to do that business and then roll into the community forum?
That would be fine. Yeah, that'd be fine.
How long do you think we would?
Career ladder, maybe 10 minutes. You know,
Oh,
it's just something
no.
like, hey, this is how much it's going to cost us, sort of
Okay.
thing. Do we want to spend the money on that? And I can give you guys some numbers on kind of where I think it's going to be right now.
Then I think it's okay to go ahead and do that. We could do that first and then do the.
I mean, do we want to do like a community engagement piece on this?
You want to do it right this quick? I mean,
It'd be just kind of our first kick. Because I was looking at our calendar. Our next one, we don't have anything in November. Then we're in December, I guess we couldn't wait till then if we wanted to.
What's October?
We're going to
Oh.
MSBA
Yeah,
conference.
never mind.
I mean, I think it's important to hear from the community before we get too far along in the process.
Right, it's just kind of a brainstorming idea. I mean, I definitely have ideas and thoughts that I think the direction we should go, but, you know, maybe the community has different opinions on that. And then we start, okay, well, I'm hearing this, so let's change and go in this direction.
I just kind of envisioned the first meeting would be like numbers, you know, going over numbers and potential growth and what areas are needing, you know, is it, do we need to, you know, do a smaller school that and expand it to high school, you know, just kind of, but I guess you can do that all at the same meeting prior.
So I can give them kind of a presentation of here are where our numbers are. This is where we're expecting growth right now. Right now we're expecting this. So by the time a new building would be open, it'd be 26, fall 26. So we're looking way out, but at the same time, these building projects are coming. You know, so if we have almost 1,000 new homes coming, there's probably going to be more kids coming too. And we have a no tax increase opportunity that we want to look at, but we also have some facility needs that need to be done, like you know, Warrior Ridge needs a new roof and sort of stuff. And we did finish all of our HVAC projects. And construction costs are $350 to $400 a square foot. So it's just like, how much money do we? Because we could go out this April for $18 million, but if we wait another year, it's $4 more million we could do on a no tax increase bond issue. So, you know, as we've talked before, I think it's smart to wait that time to get there. But
prices will come back down by then.
I hope so. I hope so. We're all crossing our fingers on that.
Can you get what the growth has been so far this year?
Sure, this year hasn't been, we've been pretty steady on growth-wise, but with 200 homes coming to Truesdale, another 100 homes coming in over here, and all the rebounding we've done, we need to probably get a plan to be ahead of it instead of behind it. So our numbers, our actual numbers now aren't going to show a whole lot of growth. If anything, they might show a little bit of decline, but just enrollment-wise.
Enrollment, I know you were down, but as far as housing growth this year?
Oh, housing. Oh,
Yes.
I can talk to the county on that too.
I would like to know what that looked like this year compared to what we're looking forward to.
Right.
Because today, we didn't see that growth, but what will we might see if we had X amount of more houses.
Right.
Okay, what is everybody thinking? Do we need the information, like Roger suggests, first ahead of time and put off the community forum, or we do it all at the same time?
Same time.
I think do it at the same time.
As long as it can be like if you could present that information, you know, ahead of time and just.
Yep. So what I'll do is we'll probably do the career ladder thing, then I'll do a quick presentation on here's the numbers, here's where the future growth looks to be. Because we know these subdivisions have been approved and they're going to be building them, so we know that where they are. But that's what we know today. So if we get another 200 home subdivision, another 200 home subdivision in this 4 or 5 year span, we could be in a jam.
And you would have the information on where those subdivisions are located, and because at some point we're going to have to redistrict and what that would look like as well.
Absolutely. So,
And so that would also, because we have a couple different options for buildings.
Correct, exactly. We could build, I mean, that's what we could do. I know people want to have a middle school, but I don't know that we have, like, the middle school that they built at Winsville, North Point, is 200,000 square feet. That's huge. And so if you do $400 times that, you're looking at 80 million, 20 million. So even if we did half of that, we're still out of line. But if we would have did a 7th and 8th grade center, something smaller like that, then looking at athletic complexes and fields and all that stuff, so that might not work. So do we just build an early childhood center? I mean, it's just, you know, we have a lot of different options to what our needs, what our future needs, but we need to start doing some groundwork this school year on what we're going to do next April. Just so when we hit the ground running this summer, we have all of our materials, we know exactly what we're doing, we're just really hit the communication piece on what we're going to do instead of trying to figure out what we're going to do.
And like have a consistent logo on all of those.
Sure.
Sarah? But I'm glad we got this man on board because you witnessed it firsthand in Winsville.
Oh yeah. But that's why we just probably need to be prepared for it. So I'll send so what I'm hearing is we're okay having some community members join us. We'll do a presentation, just get some, and really, just, what's everybody feel like we need? What's the needs of the community?
Right.
Because they have to vote for it to pass it, right?
Right.
So if we do something they don't want, then it's not gonna pass.
Right.
even if
Right.
we're taxing
I mean, we're here for them anyway.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
I just want to make sure we would have all of that information.
Yeah, I can have all that for you.
Okay, looks like our next item is to set our next regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to set our next regular meeting for October 13th, 2022.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to set our next regular meeting for October 13th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we need to set the closed session.
Ginger, I hate to go back. I just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that Sarah's comment jogged my memory. Do we want to add the crest to the policy as our official crest? No, so we settle on where we're landing. It's okay. Because I just had a note of that. Okay, thanks.
Right.
Okay,
I
take
can't
that
wait
off.
to create my own crest now.
I know.
Great.
I'm doing it. I have a wildcat on it too.
I'm not artistic, so I couldn't do it.
I move to set the closed session to immediately precede the October 13th meeting.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to set the closed session to precede the October 13th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. My favorite motion of the night is coming up.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Nobody's opposed.
This weekend?
Talk to her.